taken back time. Others, meanwhile, have picked up stage wins and individual glory along the way. And today presents more opportunities to shake up the standings once more. It is stage 6 of the 2010 edition of the Race of Two Seas, Tirreno, Adriatico. And we're glad to have you with us here on Universal Sports. Steve Schlanger alongside Todd Gogulski. And this was the scene earlier today at the start of this 6th of 7 days of racing. The start town of Monte Cozzaro, a 134-kilometer stage on the bill today, ending in the town of Macerata. And some of the high-profile names signing in, including that man, the overall race leader, Michele Scarpone. Andy Schleck right here of Saxo Bank, who's, of course, a Grand Tour threat in any of the 3 Grand Tours he enters, has had a quiet Tirreno Adriatico so far. And speaking of quiet, it was a very quiet pedestrian rollout in the start town earlier today. Still very chilly, however, it has warmed up somewhat. Good news for the riders, dry conditions, no precipitation in the forecast for this penultimate day of the race.
You can see Alessandro Ballan there in the middle of your screen. No arm warmers, that tells you it's warmed up just a bit. Let's walk you through today's course, starting in Monte Cozzaro. Only 83 miles in length today, Steve. Not all that hilly, in fact, no real mountains to speak of. The biggest climbs coming in the final 4 circuits at the finishing town of Macerata, and they will be doing 4 circuits there with 2 tough pitches to the finish line on each of those circuits, finishing at the top the last time to make it tough.
Yeah, that final slope up to the finish line itself will max out at 19%. And here is the general classification after 5 days of racing. Michele Scarpone still with the overall lead. However, it has been sliced to 10 seconds over Garzelli, 15 on Iglinski, and 18 seconds on the reigning world champion, Cadel Evans. But for Michele Scarpone, he's got a lot of work to prevent more attacks and other guys from taking back more time on him today. With so much rolling terrain, it'll certainly be difficult for him and his squad. And now we pick up the action with just about 30 kilometers left to go. You are looking at a breakaway of 12 men, a pretty healthy group here that has 2.5 minutes on the main field. Rolling you through some of the names, and they are halfway through the 3rd of the 4 circuits we talked about that are 20K apiece around the finishing town here today.
Well, Steve, the important thing about this move, there are 2 things. One, 12 different teams represented, so that means most of the teams in the race have someone up in this breakaway group, which means none of those teams will help with the chase. This was just a little bit earlier before we came on the air, and that is Simon Spielach, the Lampre rider on the left, who was just getting caught after he had been off the front of this group testing them just a little bit. But when you get back here to the field, you see number 1 in blue. That's your defending champion and the leader this year as well, Michele Scarpone, and glued to his wheel, number 11, is Stefano Garzelli in the red jersey. They were 1st and 2nd last year, and that's how they sit this year.
This is the profile of today's very short 134-kilometer stage. The green line shows you where the race is right now, so more up and down landscape to cover here in the final 30 kilometers of racing. And Scarpone, as I mentioned, is going to have his work cut out for him to try and preserve the time that he has. He struggled yesterday on the big climb and, in fact, crashed on the descent of the climb. Went down, had to be taken to the hospital for x-rays after the stage as his arm and hip were both bothering him. And it was quite a scene that was happening behind the main action as his teammate actually crashed in front of him. And Scarpone took his wheel, rode away. His teammate was left lying there in the road bleeding, but you have to give it up for the team leader. That's what he did. Scarpone rode away and did manage to preserve some time.
We talk a lot about these domestiques and how much they sacrifice, but that's kind of the ultimate sacrifice when you've gone down with your team leader and you're bleeding heavily. That was Jose Serpa from his right brow, and Scarpone says, well, hey dude, sorry, but I need your wheel, gotta go.
And the big question, can his team protect that lead today? It was Cadel Evans who actually gained some time in the GC on Scarpone yesterday, and afterwards Cadel Evans was saying that the Androni team of Michele Scarpone does not look as solid as he expected. Many times you don't hear a main challenger say that about his opposition, but Androni not proving to be as strong in consolidating the efforts of the squad to protect the overall race lead as some may think, and that may open up some doors for guys like Garzelli, Evans, and the others to try and take a run at him again today.
Yesterday was a really tough day for that Androni Giocontoli squad because they started out very solid all through the first two-thirds of the race, but then they had 3 riders crash later on, and that really put a chink in their armor. We're back up here to this breakaway group, and this is Ignatiev on the back. He was actually factored in one of the breakaways earlier in the race, did not make it to the finish line in front of the field. But you can see as we've noticed this group of riders up front, still very smooth, everybody sharing the tempo making, and I think they have a somewhat of a chance here of making it. 41.4 kilometers an hour, that's about 26 miles an hour is the pace they have had so far today.
Which is not unexpected in a short stage like this, only 134 kilometers. The racing is very intense, it's hard, it's aggressive. Guys know they're not going to be out there that long, and it's especially a relief coming off back-to-back 200+ K days like they've suffered through the last couple.
Yeah, so 2 minutes 40 seconds, just under 30 K to go. They're really on the bubble, just like it's been day after day here. Yesterday, Gasparotto did manage barely to pull it off in front of Garzelli, who came up from the field. But today we'll see if that changes. Garzelli's team on the front here with Scarponi's team. So the first and second guys overall have their teams on the front. They're a little concerned about this breakaway move.
But it's pretty clear the main theme of the day is the fact that there's only one way to the front of this race. That is to attack. If you have any GC aspirations, you have to make a move today. It's the last day of any serious climbing. There's no time trial at this year's Tirreno Adriatico. This is the last legitimate chance to take back time on a guy like Michele Scarponi at the top of the standings.
Just like yesterday, no matter what happens, whether the breakaway is away or the breakaway is caught, there will be fireworks on those final climbs on the circuits, guaranteed.
Can Scarponi hold off the likes of Evans, Garzelli, Iglinski, the other main contenders? A breakaway of 12 has a lead of just over 2 minutes, but the chase is on with 27 kilometers left to go on stage 6 at Tirreno Adriatico. Plowing through stage 6 of Tirreno Adriatico. Just about 25.5 kilometers left to go in this 134 kilometer. Monte Cozzaro to Macerata on the eastern part of the country today, and right around the Adriatic Sea, which of course is the second of the 2 seas in this race of the 2 seas as it is known. And this is the scene at the front end of the main field in pursuit of 12 riders up the road, hanging on to a lead of right around 2.5 minutes.
Well, the man on the left side of your screen with a bandage over his eye is the Jose Serpa, teammate of our overall leader, Scarponi. But now coming to the front, it's one of our Colnago riders doing the tempo making, and that's Canuti, the Italian. Actually, that entire team, the Colnago squad, is all comprised of Italians. Canuti here setting the tempo here for his team leader. And you know, this team has been a really impressive squad because it's another one of those professional continental teams, which is second-tier team. But, hey, they're racing in Italy, and they come here very well prepared.
Now, since we got our last time check, that gap has been sliced in half, now down to 1.5 minutes as you look at the overall race leader, Michele Scarponi. And if you're that Italian who's desperately trying to hang on to this lead and win Tirreno Adriatico for the second time in as many years, beware the Ides of March, go. It is March the 15th, and guys like Evans and Garzelli, they're going to be trying to stab them in the back any chance they get here today.
Well, the thing you also have to remember is because Scarponi had a crash yesterday, though he looked 2 days ago unstoppable, yesterday he looked much more human. Both Garzelli and Evans riding away, as well as Iglinski on that final 800-meter wall and picking up a few precious seconds. So those guys, they are not, they have not become this good of professional bike racers because of a lack of intelligence. They can read the race, and they will look for opportunities to take out Scarponi whenever they can, and today may be another shot.
And when you consider the big picture, we still have 8 riders within a half minute of the overall race lead in this second to last day. There are time bonuses at the finish line, 10 seconds, 6 seconds, and 4 seconds for first through third respectively, and some pretty big names within that fold. We've mentioned guys like Evans and Garzelli, but also Robert Haysink, Michael Rogers, Vincenzo Nibali, Maxime Iglinski. So these are guys certainly capable of taking back time if they play their cards right.
And up here in this breakaway move, that's Simon Spialik on the back for Lampre, and leading in the dark colors, that's Thomas Lövkvist of Sky. The man in the middle is the Russian Iglinski. Those are three men who have gone just a little clear on this descent of the other 9 riders. So maybe a little testing going on here. And I think we're going to see a lot more infighting before the end of the day. The question is this the final move, or are there many to come?
23.5K left to ride. Again, these are the circuits around the finishing town of Macerata. 4 circuits, 20K apiece. So quite a big section of circuits to negotiate here on the second to last day of racing. Not your typical 1, 2, 3 kilometer circuits that we often see around town. These are huge loops.
The 12 miles, the 12.4 miles if it's 20K, and the gap at 130. So you know, this breakaway group not looking as solid right now. If typically we say 1 minute for every 10 kilometers is what the field can bring back on a breakaway. Well, they've got 23K to go and only 1 minute and 30 advantage. So the field may be just toying with them a little bit, but it looks as though they might be able to bring them back at will.
You have to also think outside the paradigm of just this particular race with guys in the break as well as those in the chase. Some may not be thinking about this particular stage or this overall Tirreno Adriatico competition at all. Some may be thinking ahead to Milan-San Remo, some of the other spring classics, and filling their priorities according to their later goals. So we may be thinking here that they're trying to make something happen on today's stage 6 to set something up for stage 7. That may not be the case at all. They may be just testing themselves, seeing how they feel, getting a gauge of their fitness for the other big races to come.
Well, that's certainly the truth, that the season's very long, and it is always a question of what the goals are for the individual riders as well as the different teams. We know that this man front and center in the blue jersey, Michele Scarponi, has come back to win this race, and he's doing a very good job of defending. These cars here were all behind the breakaway group earlier in the day, but they've pulled them out because the field is starting to close that gap, and they do not want those cars to get in the way if the field catches the breakaway.
Rolling along in a pretty good clip here, this blue jersey group, and right now that blue jersey, the overall race leader Michele Scarponi, sitting 4th wheel from the front. Has 2 teammates in front of him. And we roll back up to our race leaders. So this is the 12-man breakaway.
That's Spielak on the front there, and he's actually the 2nd highest placed rider in that group, but he's still almost 2 minutes down. Right behind him, big Marcus Berghardt of BMC in that move as well.
Remember a couple of stages ago, go. How'd you like that? Anyway, we remember how we had a 10-man breakaway that fell apart late in the stage because they weren't working well together, because there were just too many guys in the break with different ambitions. Here we have a 12-man breakaway today. You wonder if they may work more in concert in order to stay away from the chasing pack.
It's all about the combination of the riders and their motivations, and this group seems to be a lot smoother than that 10-rider group we saw earlier.
Minute and a half ahead of the main field, inside of 22 kilometers left to go, but more climbing on the way, especially up to the finish where it pitches to 19%. Should be a dramatic finish to stage 6 on the way. There's the Italian Michele Scarponi, the overall race leader on stage 6 at Tirreno Adriatico. Coming into the day, leading Stefano Garzelli by 10 seconds, Maxim Iglinski of Astana by 15, and Cadel Evans by 18 seconds. And this is the breakaway of 12 riders coming up on the final 20 kilometers of the day. And that means they'll be approaching the final circuit of 4 that they are facing here at the end of this 134-kilometer day. Mountain sprint on the way, finishing town of Macerata. So getting a good look at what they face at the finish. Again, they have that slope that goes up to a maximum gradient of 19%. It takes them to the finish line, so they'll get 3 looks at it prior to the time they actually finish it. And I'm sure it'll hurt just as much each and every time.
Yeah, if you're feeling good on a day like today, you'll be happy every time you see it. But if you are a mere mortal, then every single time you go up it, you'll feel just a little bit worse. And after these guys been off the front for a long time, that's probably more how it's going to be to them.
Stefano Garzelli finished second to Michele Scarponi in this Tirreno Adriatico race last year. Does not want to suffer the same fate here in 2010, but that's where he sits right now, 10 seconds back. But to give you some perspective, Again, we have those time bonuses at the finish today. 10 seconds for first place. So if Garzelli should somehow manage to get away, win this stage, get a gap on Scarpone, he could very easily be the leader going into the final stage. But a lot has to transpire, a lot of bodies to climb over on the way to that scenario.
And this is Martin Mascant of Garmin Transitions making a bit of a move here on this finishing climb, and that's Peter Velits of HTC Columbia responding. So this second to last time up this climb, things starting to heat up just a bit for these guys. You can see just how steep it is here as well. As nobody seated up
Look
this
at Velits. He's going right by him and launching a solo move.
Certainly is. He's definitely really turned it up here. So he's got 20K to go. If he can make it to the top here alone, it's a long way to the finish. The question is, does he think he can do it alone, or is he hoping to draw out one or two other strongmen from that lead group?
I don't know how he could imagine that he would do this alone. That's a long way to go back to the finish line. 20 kilometers, more climbing. He's got 2 climbs on this final circuit, including the one he just did. He'll have to conquer that one again, and to do that all by yourself, I don't know.
Maybe just a little bit overly enthusiastic at the moment, but he's opened up a very big gap on the rest of his breakaway companions. So certainly the man is riding very well, and Velits actually is a new recruit for that HTC Columbia. He comes over from Team Milram the last few years.
Now, and he's also a classics type of rider. Has gotten the top 10 at Milan-San Remo before, so this could potentially fit his style.
Well, this is a good time of the year for him, as we've seen him last year, like you just said, 10th at Milan-San Remo, and back to the front. It's once again the leaders team. Michele Scarpone has his men at the front. A little bit of an overhead view here of the guys. That's number 41 is Cadel Evans, the white jersey with the horizontal world champion stripes.
Just in front of him as well, Robert Hayes-Sink of Rabobank, best young rider, also in the mix for the GC. 27 seconds back, sitting in 5th position, right behind Cadel, who's in 4th in the GC standings. So the Androni team of overall race leader Michele Scarpone leading the peloton up the climb as they get set for the final circuit in the last 20K of stage number 6. Peter Velits has gone clear from the 12-man breakaway that has defined this stage 6. Now has a lead of just over a minute to the main field that includes the blue jersey of overall race leader Michele Scarpone, and coming up on the final 15 kilometers of the day.
This is a shot of our field not far behind, as they are all seeing 15 kilometers to go at this point, and looks like Velits here, his time off the front, just about done. So he made it off the front of that group for about 5 kilometers, but they are bringing it back in that dark jersey. That's the Sky rider, Thomas Lodqvist. He's had good results here in the past. Martin Mascant for Garmin Transitions. Also a really solid classics one-day rider in this breakaway. This breakaway actually has a lot of very good one-day riders, including Tom Bonin. We've seen him earlier.
And some of those guys have been shed, though. This was originally a 12-man breakaway. It's been sliced in half, now down to 6 at the front of the race.
Ah, look at this. So at the back, we have Velits. Then it's Mascant for Garmin. Then it's Lodqvist in the black. Right there is Spilak in the blue and fuchsia. On your left for Astana in the light blue is Bazayev. And Ignatiev, the Russian for Katusha, was on the front. So there's now 6 riders remaining of the original 12.
And this perhaps could be a more manageable number to work with in the final 14 kilometers in terms of trying to work together and stay away.
Well, it's certainly, the last group looked pretty solid, but we had some guys in there who really are not that known for their climbing skills. First of all, Tom Bonin, more of a classics rider in that climb. Maybe a little too long for him to make it over. But also some of the other guys maybe just feeling the effects here 6 days in now of racing in the middle of March, and it's hard to have that recovery.
Now back here, this is the group that's chasing the riders up the road. The main field just a little more than a minute back at this point as they trace the finishing town of Macerata today. And then just one more stage coming up tomorrow at 164 kilometers. San Benedetto del Tronto is the finish town for the entire Tirreno Adriatico race. Caps 7 days of competition altogether. That'll be tomorrow, and you'll see it here on Universal Sports. Back to the 6 leaders now. 13.5K remaining to the line.
Look at this group, very, very smooth. Nice shot there of Ignatiev. And, you know, this is a guy who, over the years, has also really started out as a track racer. He won a gold medal in the Olympics in 1984 when he was only 19 years of age. There's Peter Velits on the right. And
it was 2004 in Athens.
Did I say 94?
You said 84, right. Well, that would have been, you said 84, actually.
Oh, 84.
So
that was when I was racing.
Right.
The head plays games with you once in a while.
You felt he was beating you up.
I certainly did. Here's a nice thing to look at on Lofqvist. If you look at his side in the middle of the back there, there is his name, and all the Sky Riders have that on there. So people can look for that. And on the right side of your screen, that's Andy Schleck back in the field. And Schleck really been very anonymous this race.
And he's one of those guys just using this as a very nice 7-day training block as he prepares for his bigger goals, which include the Tour de France this July. Now the main field still in pursuit as they come up on the final dozen kilometers, and it doesn't look like it's all that earnest right now, but the intensity will really pick up here shortly with the climbing that remains to be done. Jose Serpa Perez is being absorbed by the group right now.
Well, I don't think Serpa Perez really wanted to be off the front. He was probably just taking a hard pull and somebody let him go. Nice shot at Cadel Evans, and Cadel with a really impressive win at the World Championships in Mendrisio, Switzerland last year. And just after that, he signed up with the American team BMC and really has added to their firepower. That's Vinokurov right behind him in the bandaged up left elbow, who hurt his arm in a crash earlier in this race.
And for Cadel, this is already his 2nd race this season in Italy, and he's using it as preparation for a run at the overall GC in the Giro coming up in May.
And look at that red jersey there with the green sleeves. That was Daniele Bonatti, the red jersey. We see him overhead, 133 on his back. That's the jersey of the best sprinter. So he's a man who has won a stage, but he has lost the overall because he really doesn't factor in on these uphill finishes.
George Hincapie, middle of your screen, stars and stripes, red, white, and blue of Team BMC, U.S. National Road Champion, and his task is to shepherd Cadel Evans, keep him safe right now, top of the GC if he can.
The other man who's been doing a lot of shepherding is number 47, right in front of Cadel Evans for BMC. And that's Thomas Fry, and he actually rooms with Evans, and his job literally has been just to go wherever Evans goes every single day. He was in the split with him yesterday, and he's rode very well over the course of these last 6 days.
It'll be interesting to see if Cadel can really make a legitimate run at the pink jersey in the Giro. He's always targeted the Tour de France, but after a couple of 2nd place finishes, he says this year he wants to win the Giro d'Italia. That's why he's coming to race in Italy early in the season. He's been reconning some of the actual stages, the climbs, and he's really studying himself, preparing as best as possible for the Giro in May. So the Aussie trying to finally win his first Grand Tour and hoping it is the first Grand Tour this season.
Well, certainly Evans has shown he has the horsepower to get it done. This team has worked very well for him this year in this race, so a little bit of a wild card question, how solid would BMC be? Well, they certainly have shown that they have stepped it up a huge level this year already. That's the Italian Franco Pelazzotti back in the field, and on our last shot, he was following Cadel Evans. Right now, just off to his right, Michele Scarponi. So there are really a baker's dozen of Italians here in the race that have been in contention for this.
Now we are coming up on the final 10K of racing, and that includes the very difficult uphill run-in to the finish in Macerata. Penultimate day of racing at the 45th edition of Tirreno Adriatico. A small break still up the road, but the main men are coming up quick. A little under 8.5 kilometers left to go. Stage 6 at Tirreno Adriatico. Michele Scarponi still holding a lead of just a few seconds over several big names on this second to last day of this year's race. Gogo, if you're Scarpone, your team has been somewhat shaky. You struggled yesterday. How nervous are you in these final 8.3 kilometers?
Very nervous, I'd have to say, and he's actually looked a little bit concerned on some of the shots we've seen of him. Actually, right here on our screen, I'm surprised to see Lampre on the front because they have Spialik in the breakaway, and I don't understand why they would be chasing Spialik, who's off the front. Look at this. We have Ignatiev, who has attacked the break.
Mikhail Ignatiev, the 24-year-old Russian, trying to get away from his breakaway partners. This was the move a moment ago.
So Spielijk just swinging off the front. Ignatiev, not a lot of dramatics, but just sort of punching it through, and now he has a gap. You can see Spielijk on the front of the chase behind him. Ignatiev maybe sensing a moment here of opportunity.
Well, he's a former two-time World Junior Time Trial champion. The TT is one of his specialties, so maybe hoping to put those skills to good use with 7.5K to go. Problem is, some of this road is still uphill, and severely so. It wouldn't be a flat run-in.
We could see that group behind no longer is it 5 guys. The other 6 caught back up, so it was a 12-man group yet again with everybody together. Ignatiev testing the waters right now, and it's not that far to the finish.
7.4. That final climb, again, will max out at 19%. It'll be the 4th time they've done it today, so you have to wonder how much it's already taken a toll, how much it will impact these guys the final time up. And the lead now out to 1:08, back to this main field that's being led by the Liquigas team.
Daniele Bonatti in that red jersey of the best sprinter doing his work now because he knows he's going to go straight out the back door as it goes uphill, and there he goes. Bye-bye, Bonatti. And this is Agnoli now to the front with Pelizzotti on his wheel, and they're riding for Vincenzo Nibali. Pelizzotti's already lost some time as well. Nibali is their hitter today. That's
interesting to note. They're riding for a guy who's 8th on GC. The top teams aren't riding at the front of the main field right now.
You know, I think if I were Michele Scarpone, I would say let this breakaway have a little bit of time so that the other contenders can't get those time bonuses at the finish. He does not want to give up a 10-second time bonus to Cadel Evans or Stefano Garzelli.
Yeah, the more bodies out front like this who are not pertinent GC threats to him, that's all the better for Michele Scarpone. And he doesn't want to have to be in a position where he has to go out by himself and try to track anybody down and fight it out for those bonus seconds as well.
Yeah, remember the best man in this breakaway group was 1:40 off the pace, and that was Paul Martens of Rabobank. So if they're inside of those 2 minutes, it's no big deal in the overall. Agnoli still on the front, putting in a big effort here on the first of the final 2 climbs. They go up this climb, they have a little respite where they have a quick descent, and that final climb up to the finish is the real kicker.
Now, Stefano Garzelli hanging near the front as well. On his back, Michele Scarpone. And this is the new leader. A solo move by Mikhail Ignatiev, the 24-year-old for Katusha. Getting a 20-second advantage with under 7K now left to race.
It really looked like his attack might have been a little bit early, but he continues to chink out just a second or 2 every kilometer on that breakaway group that's chasing him now. And so he's putting in a very solid ride. Only 24 years of age, and this man still has his whole career in front of him.
Some other guys struggling on the climb here. Well, as far as the front end of the main field, Garzelli has been staying in contact with the first few riders. So has Cadel Evans. And as a result, Michele Scarpone, the overall race leader, has stayed on their wheels. He has to be very attentive as the numbers break down like this with Mikhail Ignatiev, who you see right here, the lone leader. Has 20 seconds to the chasing pack and just under a minute back to the main field right now.
Well, in the time trial, this man is at his best. If a lot of people probably remember back to last year's Tour de France, in the final time trial, stage 18, he got 3rd in that behind Cancellara and Contador. Contador won it. Cancellara was 3 seconds back, and Ignatiev was only 15 seconds back. So he's very good by himself against the clock.
Now this is the front of the main field, and we saw just a moment ago Stefano Garzelli riding 3rd wheel in 4th position. Michele Scarpone, there they are. Garzelli is in the red. Scarpone is in the blue. Garzelli right now sitting 10 seconds down on GC, second place to Scarpone.
You know, Steve, there has not been one time in the last couple of days where we have seen Garzelli and Scarpone apart unless one of them has hammered so hard they've dropped the other one. They are shadowing each other. When you see one, the other one's always right there, watching him with a very close eye. This is Tom Bonin. He has been shed out of that breakaway group.
Part of the original 12-man breakaway, the signature move on the day, but about to be swallowed up. He's already won one stage. It was stage number 2 here at this year's Tirreno Adriatico. First time he had ever won a stage at this event. And he may get another chance tomorrow with a very flat final day.
Well, Tom will be a big threat tomorrow. The man they call Tomica in Belgium, kind of like Little Tommy. It's a very much an endearing term, but he is not a small man, let me tell you.
Perhaps in the break today, solely to test himself for Milan-San Remo next Saturday. Garzelli still sitting in third position behind the 2 liquid gas riders who are in green at the front of this peloton. Michele Scarpone is in 4th, and for Scarpone, he hopes Ignatiev stays away and as many guys as possible from that breakaway also stay behind Ignatiev, eat up the bonus time at the line, because that's one of the most dangerous things to Scarpone's overall GC lead right now. Those time bonuses, 10, 6, and 4 seconds for the first 3 across the line.
Ignatiev now under 3 miles to go. He's about 2.8 miles from the finish, and he's smooth sailing right now on this downhill. The question is, has he sort of really, well, paced himself through here? Because that final climb, he's going to have the punch. We saw Gasparotto barely surviving that final wall yesterday and almost losing the race because of it.
And Marcus Burghardt of the BMC team out front now.
So he has been dropped from that lead group of 12 as well. He will now look for Cadell Evans to see if he can help him out at all in these final kilometers, as Evans really put down a smashing ride at the end yesterday as well and got some times back on Michele Scarpone.
Burghardt slides back into the mix here, and another man has been gathered up. More bad news for Michele Scarpone. Now, the big question will come is if any of the GC threats attack Scarpone, does he have the capacity to respond? He used a lot of energy in winning that stage a few days ago, did a lot of climbing. He crashed yesterday, had to go for x-rays at the hospital. His arm, his hip, they are both still bothering him, so he's banged up. His form is a bit off right now, so if he gets attacked, it's going to be very fascinating to see how he will respond.
Yeah, we know that he will be watching, most of all, he will be watching Garzelli, but he also has to keep a keen eye on Cadell Evans, who's been very active these last couple of days. And it seems to me that that's the race overall.
3.3 left to go.
That's that chase group. Lofqvist, that's Iglinski rolling through right now. So these guys not giving up. They still have hopes to stay away, but they are in pursuit of the lone leader, Mikhail Ignatiev, who's pulled out about 15 or 20 seconds here. This is very touch and go for all of these riders, Steve.
Try to pick them up through the trees here with 3K remaining. Last significant day of any climbing on the map here at Tirreno Adriatico, a predominantly flat day for the sprinters tomorrow. And this is the third of 3 consecutive days of a lot of uphill racing.
Notice Mikhail Ignatiev's position here. Forward on the saddle, we call that tipping it. His torso is low. He always kind of has that low position because he looks like a time trialist at all times. He looks a little bit uncomfortable and uneasy, like a stiff back, but that's just the way he rides. That's his aero position.
Now the chasing pack just 10 seconds behind right now. And this is back to the main field. They are the third group on the road.
It's Villagnoli on the front, doing a big turn for Nibali. He's been up there now for a couple of K. Ignatiev not showing any signs of cracking yet, but he's nowhere near the steepest part of the climb yet, Steve.
As we saw a couple of days ago, when you have a steep pitch at the finish of a stage like this, everything can change. Guys blow up in the blink of an eye. And you never know how somebody is feeling until that road starts to go up towards the line and the peloton that's always moving at a much faster rate of speed closes in.
Now, we've seen gaps in the last 5 kilometers, the last couple of stages. We've seen gaps open up of 5 minutes between groups that quickly. Oh, we've got an attack here. Looks like out of our breakaway group, and that is Peter Velits of the HTC Columbia team. So look at him rocketing up to Ignatiev.
Well, he attacked by himself a little while ago, and Ignatiev's still up the road. This is him right here. This is Mikhail Ignatiev, so he's not at the front of the race yet, but Velits is on the move.
Got it. That was a Lampre rider. That was Spieluk who had attacked the chase, so it's still Ignatiev on his own. Velits trying to make it up.
Second big acceleration for Peter Velits here today for the HTC Columbia squad. You wonder if he has enough to bridge across. He was no doubt thinking that time is just running out. We're under 2 kilometers left to go. Ignatiev not really coming back, so he's going forward instead to try and bridge across.
This is at the front of the field. And that's well for AG2R Le Mondial. And the quick look we saw back at the field, that is actually the former world champion of BMC, Alessandro Ballan. So looks like BMC putting all their cards into Evans today, as they need to be.
But still at the front of the race, it's Mikhail Ignatiev, and this is the lead that he has. That's still a pretty healthy gap with 1.6 left to go.
Yeah, it's actually a great gap. He's just about a mile from the finish, and Ignatiev starting to look very solid here for a potential stage victory. That would be a huge win for him.
It's the battle for the GC back here in the main field. It's Scarponi now riding just in front of Garzelli. Scarponi is the 4th man from the front. Garzelli in the red is 5th.
Once again, shadowing each other on their every move.
12 to the chase group for Mikhail Ignatiev, who is the lone leader right now. Alessandro Ballan of BMC, former world champion, driving this main field just in front of Pelazzotti.
And that was Martin Mascant coming back like a brick from the breakaway group.
This is the leader.
1K to go. That big blue banner just in front of him. That's 0.6 of a mile. Ignatiev looking poised for a big win.
Now Mikhail Ignatiev launching the solo move from a large breakaway. It was 12 strong at one point. He went clear by himself, and now inside of the final 1,000 meters to the finish, but the road's going to severely pitch up here.
He just is such a poker face on this guy. You can't tell if he's hurting at all. He has no body motion, no change in his style. He just continues to mechanically crank those pedals over. He has the same cadence.
Oh, look at this. The main field now coming up on other guys who were in the break as they go under the red kite. 1K left to go for them, and other attacks being launched here as well.
Well, the front of the field going absolutely ballistic right now, as we certainly expected.
And on the left-hand side of your screen, Ignatiev. He's still riding solo, approaching a win, and also a 10-second time bonus. That would be ideal for Michele Scarpone, who's in the middle of your screen in the blue and white, the overall race leader. Franco Pelazzotti in the green, just ahead of him. Garzelli in the red. He's out to the right, sitting in second on the GC right now.
Cadel Evans was sitting right behind, so those are your top contenders. This is Velits about to get absorbed.
Well, the interesting thing that's developing now, it looks like Ignatiev is going to be able to hang on to win this with half a K to go, but there's still 2 other time bonuses available. 6 seconds for second place, 4 seconds for third, and some of the GC players could wind up fighting it out for those time bonuses. Garzelli now coming to the front with our overall leader, Michele Scarponi. There goes Garzelli on the attack.
Garzelli's got to do it right now. This is the last big chance for this race. Scarponi right on his wheel.
Stefano Garzelli in the red, attacking the overall race leader, Scarponi. This is the front of the race. Mikhail Ignatiev, the Russian, he's going for the win, the 10-second time bonus. This is the battle for second place, which would be a 6-second time bonus. Scarponi side by side with Garzelli right now.
Garzelli calls, Scarponi answers. He is not getting away. Cadel Evans was just behind, rounding the corner, making the big chase.
Now from above, you see the sharp corner they have to navigate here. Inside the final 500 meters, Mikhail Ignatiev, the 24-year-old, trying to hold on for the stage win. But the big battle for the GC unfolding right behind him. Ignatiev onto the cobbles here where it really gets narrow, and it looks like he's going to solo in for the win. After well over 3 hours in the saddle today, approaching the finish in Macerata.
Look at this,
Oh, look at this, Cadell Evans now in front of Garzelli. They've got a gap to Scarponi.
Evans absolutely gunning it right now. Garzelli on his wheel. This is for second and third behind. Ignatiev taking the win.
Evans and Garzelli shoulder to shoulder. Scarponi has been gapped. They've got the time bonuses. Now Michele Scarponi crosses over in what looks like maybe 6th place. But time bonuses to both Evans and Garzelli. Michele Scarponi, a gap, and then 6th place. The GC has changed once again on the penultimate day.
Well, a hectic finish here, and it is Ignatiev taking the big win, but the bigger news, the overall race for second and third.
Boy, hand-to-hand combat on stage 6 here in Italy. It was a solo move late in the stage that allowed Mikhail Ignatiev, the rider from Katusha, to pick up the stage win, but that man, Stefano Garzelli, absolutely shattered to get 2nd place and a time bonus as a result.
This is the last 20 meters of that sprint. Garzelli barely making it around Evans as he drives and lunges for the line. And you can see with this replay, only about 2 seconds or 2 inches separating these two riders at the end for that 6-second time bonus.
Big story, Garzelli and Evans both getting time bonuses. Here are the stage results as Ignatiev, the Russian, gets the win over Garzelli and Evans. Michele Scarponi down there 7 seconds back, winding up in 6th position on the day, just ahead of HTC Columbia's Michael Rogers. Now Scarponi with a wink. Glad to hang on to the lead by just a hair. Watch him come across. Evans and Garzelli are already through. Scarponi, right-hand side of your screen in the blue, waving his right arm right there. Didn't seem too pleased. He gets the 6th place finish, and because of the time bonuses of Garzelli and Evans, they have crept up the leaderboard. Garzelli now just 2 seconds back. Evans has a deficit of 12 seconds going into the final day of racing.
Well, Steve, there are a couple of intermediate sprints tomorrow with 3, 2, and 1 seconds on the line, so tomorrow could be exciting.
That said, still going to be very difficult to wrestle the lead away from this man, Michele Scarponi, as he goes for his 2nd win in a row at Tirreno Adriatico.
Once again, Michele Scarponi has slayed the dragon here today.
And now for Todd Gogolski, I'm Steve Schlanger. Can this man hang on for the win? We'll find out tomorrow on Stage 7.